The cafeteria went quiet in a wave. It started at the entrance and spread outward like ripples in still water. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. 300 alien students turned to stare at the doorway. Danny Reyes stood there, holding his meal tray, feeling every single eye on his skin. He was the first human to ever walk into the Galactic Harmony Academy. The first of his kind to be accepted into this ancient school where species from across the galaxy learned to live together in peace. He was supposed to be an honor to his planet. Right now, he just wanted to find a place to sit. He took a step forward. The silence followed him. A small creature bumped into his side. She was barely a meter tall, with translucent skin that showed the soft glow of her internal organs. Her wings, thin as paper, folded tight against her back in fear. She was a Wispari, Danny remembered from his studies. Fragile, gentle, often prey. Her tray wobbled. Danny reached out and steadied it before her food could fall. Careful, he said softly. You okay? The Wispari stared at him with huge, dark eyes. She seemed frozen, waiting for something terrible to happen. When nothing did, she blinked 3 times in rapid succession. You're not going to hurt me, she whispered. Why would I hurt you? She had no answer. She simply clutched her tray and hurried away, glancing back twice as if expecting him to chase her. Danny found an empty table in the corner and sat down alone. He ate his strange alien food and pretended not to notice the staring. This was his life now. The curiosity, the fear, the whispers he could not quite hear. A shadow fell over his table. Danny looked up and up. The creature standing before him was nearly 3 meters tall, with skin like gray stone and eyes like chips of obsidian. A brute Hari. Danny had read about them too. Warrior species. Strong, proud, often cruel. So this is the human, the brute Hari said. His voice was like gravel rolling downhill. The soft little prey animal they led into our school. Danny said nothing. He took another bite of his food. I am Roon, the brute Hari continued. My father is ambassador to 7 systems. My family has attended this academy for 12 generations. And now they let in animals from a death world who have barely learned to fly between their own planets. Other students were watching now, some with fear, some with interest, none with any intention to help. Nice to meet you, Roon, Danny said calmly. I am Danny. Roon leaned down. His breath smelled like sulfur. You do not belong here, human. Your kind solve problems with fists and weapons. This is a place of peace. You will fail. You will embarrass your primitive species. And when you do, I will be there to watch. Danny held his gaze steady. In another life, in another place, he would have stood up. He would have shown this oversized rock what a boy from Sao Paulo could do when pushed. But he was not in Sao Paulo anymore. He was here to prove that humans could be more than their reputation. Thank you for the welcome, Danny said. I will do my best not to disappoint. Roon snorted and walked away. His heavy footsteps echoed through the silent cafeteria. That night, Danny returned to his quarters in the dormitory wing. The door slid open, and he stopped. Everything was destroyed. His clothes were torn and scattered across the floor. His datapad was cracked in half. His books, the few paper ones he had brought from Earth, were ripped into pieces. And in the center of the mess, lying in a pile of broken glass, was the photograph of his grandmother, the only picture he had of her. The woman who raised him after his father died. The woman who taught him that strength was not about hurting others, but about protecting them. He knelt down and carefully picked up the pieces. His hands did not shake. His face did not change. But something inside him went very, very still. A soft sound came from the doorway. Danny turned to see the Wispari from the cafeteria. She stood there with her wings pressed flat, her glowing body dim with distress. I saw what they did, she said quietly. I am sorry. I wanted to stop them, but I was afraid. It is okay, Danny said. What is your name? Silly. Thank you for coming, Silly. That was brave. She tilted her head, confused by his words. I did nothing. You came to check on me. That is something. He looked back at the destroyed photograph. On my world, we say that the first step is always the hardest. Silly moved a little closer. Is it true what they say? That your world is so dangerous that everything there is trying to kill you. Danny almost smiled. Yes, the animals, the weather, the plants, even the water sometimes. Everything on Earth can kill you if you are not careful. Then how do humans survive? Danny finally stood up, still holding the broken pieces of his grandmother's picture. He looked at the small, fragile creature who had shown him more kindness than anyone else in this entire station. We survive, he said, by protecting each other. Silly's wings lifted slightly, the first sign of comfort she had shown. I think I would like to learn more about humans. And I would like to learn more about you, Danny replied. But first, I need to clean up this mess. He did not report the destruction. He did not complain. He simply gathered what could be saved and threw away what could not. And when he finally lay down to sleep, he stared at the ceiling and made himself a promise. He would not become what they expected. He would not become what they feared. Not yet. Instructor Paleth was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Her body was made of living crystal, catching the light and throwing rainbows across the walls of her office. She had taught interspecies conflict resolution at the academy for over 200 years. She had seen thousands of students come and go, but she had never seen a human before. I believe you, she said, her voice like wind chimes. But belief is not proof. Danny sat across from her, his hands folded in his lap. He had come to report the destruction of his belongings. He had expected exactly this response. The arbitration system requires witnesses, Paleth continued, or physical evidence that clearly identifies the responsible party. Without either, I cannot take action against anyone. I understand, Danny said. Do you? Because I see something in your eyes, young human. Something that worries me. She leaned forward, her crystal facets shifting. You are angry. I am disappointed. Those are not the same thing. Danny thought about it. No, anger makes you want to hurt someone. Disappointment makes you realize that hurting them would not fix anything. Paleth studied him for a long moment. You're not what I expected. The files on your species describe you as violent and impulsive. Some of us are. Some of us are trying to be better. She nodded slowly. I will watch the situation. If evidence appears, I will act. Until then, I'm sorry. My hands are tied by rules older than your entire civilization. Danny thanked her and left. The next few weeks were difficult. Roon was smart. He never attacked Danny directly where others could see. Instead, he made life miserable in small ways. Danny would find his assignments deleted from the shared database. His food would be contaminated with substances that made humans sick. His path would be blocked by Brutari students who pretended not to see him. But the worst part was what Roon did to anyone who talked to Danny. That a Kelthani student who had asked Danny about Earth found his quarters flooded with coolant. A Danny who had shared notes with Danny discovered all her plants dead the next morning. The message was clear. Friendship with a human came at a price. Silly refused to stop. I am not afraid of him, she said one evening as they studied together in the library. Danny looked at her. She was trembling slightly, her internal glow flickering with stress. You are a terrible liar. Fine, I'm terrified of him, but I'm more tired of being terrified. She lifted her chin, a gesture that looked almost human. You taught me that. The first step is the hardest. Danny felt something warm in his chest. On Earth, they would call it affection. Here, he was not sure what to call it, only that he would protect this small, brave creature with everything he had. The next day, Roon made his move that IT happened in the main corridor during the busiest hour. Hundreds of students were walking between classes. Silly was carrying a stack of data crystals for her project. She never saw Roon's foot until she was already falling. She hit the ground hard. The crystals scattered everywhere. Her thin wing membrane caught on the floor and tore with a sound like ripping silk. Laughter erupted from the crowd. Brutari laughter, deep and cruel. Danny was there in seconds, kneeling beside her, helping her up. Her wing was damaged but not destroyed. The crystals were mostly intact, but her eyes were wet with something that might have been tears. Are you hurt? He asked. Only my pride, she whispered. Roon stood nearby, surrounded by his followers. The prey and the predator, he announced loudly. How touching. The dangerous human protecting the helpless Wispari. Except he cannot protect anyone, can he? He is too busy following the rules. Danny helped Silly gather her crystals. He did not look at Roon. He did not respond to the taunts. He simply walked her to the medical bay and waited outside while they repaired her wing. When she came out, she found him sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. "You could have fought him," she said. "Yes." "You wanted to." "Yes." "Why did you not?" Danny was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My father was killed when I was 7 years old. A man with a knife. A stupid argument about nothing. One moment of violence, and my whole world changed." Silly sat down beside him, her repaired wing folding carefully. "I spent years being angry," Danny continued. "I learned to fight. I learned to hurt people. And then one day my grandmother sat me down and asked me a question. She asked me what kind of man I wanted to be. Did I want to be the man with the knife? Or did I want to be something else? What did you choose?" "I chose something else. I promised myself I would never become the thing that destroyed my family." He turned to look at her. "But I'm starting to wonder if that promise was too simple." "What do you mean?" Danny did not answer right away. He was thinking about the rules, the arbitration system, the witnesses who would not speak, the victims who stayed silent out of fear. "There's a difference," he said slowly, "between being peaceful and being helpless. I always thought they were the same. Now I'm not so sure." Silly reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cool and delicate. "Whatever you decide, I will stand with you." Danny looked at her small, fragile form, at her brave, frightened eyes. "I know," he said. "That is what scares me." The biology lecture hall was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up in circles around a central platform. 200 students sat in species group clusters, their attention fixed on the holographic display floating above the instructor. "Today, we examine classification systems for predatory species," announced Professor Veth, a tall being with too many eyes. "Specifically, the hunting strategies that evolution has produced across the galaxy." Danny sat in the back row, alone as always. Silly had a different class this hour. "Ambush predators," Veth continued, gesturing at the display. Images of various aliens appeared. Pursuit predators, pack hunters, solitary stalkers. Each evolved to fill a specific role in their ecosystem. A Brutari student raised his hand. "What about humans?" Danny felt the shift in attention. Hundreds of eyes turning toward him. "An excellent question," Veth said. "Humans are classified as persistence predators, a rare and fascinating category." The display changed to show Earth, then a human figure running across a savanna. "Humans cannot run fast," Veth explained. "They have no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons. Their bodies are soft and easily damaged. By most standards, they should not have survived as a species." Laughter rippled through the room. Danny kept his face neutral. "But humans have one advantage that most predators lack. They do not stop." The room went quiet. A human cannot outrun a deer, but a human can follow that deer for hours, days. The deer will sprint, rest, sprint again. The human will simply keep walking. Eventually, the deer collapses from exhaustion, and then the human catches up. Veth looked directly at Danny. "They call this strategy persistence hunting. It requires no speed, no strength, only patience, and an absolute refusal to quit." Danny met the professor's many eyes. He said nothing. "There's an old Earth saying," Veth added. "I believe it translates roughly as, 'Nothing is more terrifying than something that never stops following you.'" After class, Danny walked through the corridors toward the library. He was thinking about the lecture, about patience, about not quitting, about the difference between hunting and protecting that a hand grabbed his shoulder and spun him around. Roon stood there, flanked by 4 other Brutari. They had cornered him in an empty hallway, far from any witnesses. "Persistence predator," Roon said mockingly. "Is that what you think you are?" "A hunter. I am just a student," Danny replied calmly. "You are prey." Roon shoved him against the wall. The impact knocked the breath from Danny's lungs. "You are soft and weak, and you do not belong here. Every day you stay is an insult to every real species in this academy." Danny steadied himself. He did not raise his hands. Is there something you want, Roon? I want you gone. My father has filed a formal complaint with the commandant. He says your presence creates a hostile environment, that your species' violent nature makes other students feel unsafe. Danny almost laughed. Almost. Your father thinks I am the one creating hostility? Roon's stone-like face twisted into something ugly. By the end of this cycle, you'll be expelled. Your little experiment will be over, and then I will deal with anyone who showed you kindness. He leaned closer. His breath was hot and sulfurous, starting with that fragile little Wispari. Something shifted in Danny's eyes. Something old and cold and dangerous. For just a moment, Roon saw it. And for just a moment, he hesitated. Then Danny blinked, and it was gone. Are we done here? Danny asked quietly. Roon stepped back. We are done when I say we are done. But his voice had lost some of its confidence. He gestured to his followers. Let us go. The prey is not worth our time. They left. Danny stood alone in the empty corridor, his back against the wall, his hands trembling slightly. That night, he went to the gymnasium. It was empty at this hour. The lights were dim, casting long shadows across the training mats. Danny began to move. It was called capoeira, a martial art from Brazil, developed by slaves who had to disguise their fighting as dancing. Every movement flowed into the next. Kicks that looked like sweeps, dodges that looked like spins, violence hidden inside beauty that he had not practiced in months. He had promised himself he would leave this part of his life behind, but some things could not stay buried forever, that he moved faster. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. The rhythm, the power, the controlled fury that lived in his muscles and bones. That a sound made him stop. A soft gasp from the doorway. Silly stood there, her glow pulsing with surprise. What was that? Danny caught his breath. A dance. From my home. That was not dancing. She stepped closer, her eyes wide. That was fighting. It is both. He wiped the sweat from his face. My people invented it when they were not allowed to fight. They hid their weapons in their movements. Silly was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Roon told everyone today. He's going to hurt me tomorrow. During free period. In front of everyone. He said he wants you to watch. Danny's hands curled into fists. I am scared, Silly admitted. Her voice was barely a whisper. But I'm also tired of being scared. If he's going to hurt me anyway, then I would rather face him standing up. Danny looked at this small, brave creature. This friend who had chosen him when everyone else turned away. You will not face him alone, he said. What are you going to do? Danny thought about persistence predators, about patience, about the difference between hunting and protecting. Whatever I have to. The medical bay smelled like chemicals and ozone. Danny stood outside the recovery room, looking through the transparent wall at the small figure on the bed. Silly's wing was bent wrong. Her carapace had a visible crack running down one side. Her internal glow was dim, almost invisible. She had fallen. That was the official story. She had tripped on the stairs and tumbled down an entire flight. An accident. A tragedy. No one's fault. Danny did not believe a single word. The medic, a four-armed Kelthani, emerged from the room. She will recover. The wing will heal in a few days. The carapace fracture is more serious, but not life-threatening. Can I see her? The medic hesitated. She asked not to have visitors. Please. Something in Danny's voice made the medic step aside. Silly's eyes were closed when he entered, but they opened at the sound of his footsteps. She tried to smile. It did not quite work. You came, she whispered. Of course I came. Danny pulled a chair to her bedside and sat down. What really happened? I fell. Silly. Her eyes filled with liquid. If I tell you, you will do something. And then they will expel you. And then I will be alone again. Danny reached out and took her small hand in his. It was cool and fragile, like holding a baby bird. I'm going to tell you a story, he said, about my grandmother. Silly blinked, but did not pull away. She was a small woman, shorter than you. She lived in a dangerous part of our city, where bad people did bad things, and no one stopped them. For years, she stayed quiet. She did not make trouble. She followed the rules. Danny's grip tightened slightly. One day, a man hurt her neighbor, beat her badly. Everyone saw. No one helped. They were afraid. The man was powerful. He had friends. The rules said to report it to the authorities. But the authorities did nothing. What did your grandmother do? She walked into the man's home the next day with a wooden spoon. Just a cooking tool. Nothing dangerous. And she beat him with it until he cried for mercy. Silly's eyes went wide. She was arrested, of course. Spent a night in jail. The man never bothered anyone again. And when she came home, the whole neighborhood came to thank her. Danny smiled sadly. She told me something that day. She said, sometimes the rules protect the wrong people. And when that happens, you have to decide what matters more. The rules, or the people the rules forgot. What does that mean for you? For now, Danny looked at Silly's damaged wing, at the crack in her carapace, at the fear she was trying so hard to hide. It means I need to know what really happened. Silly was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a voice barely louder than breath, she told him. Roon had not waited for free period. He had found her alone near the stairwell. He had pushed her, watched her fall, stood over her broken body, and laughed. He said it was a preview. Silly finished. He said the real show would be tomorrow, in front of everyone. He wants you to watch and do nothing. He wants to prove that humans are powerless. Danny did not move. His face did not change, but something inside him crystallized into perfect clarity. Can I borrow your data pad? He asked. Silly looked confused, but handed it over. Danny typed quickly, searching through the Academy's public records. Student conduct files, disciplinary notices, withdrawal records, .3 Wispari, 7 Kelthani, 2 Verdani, 12 students in 3 years who had left the Academy with unexplained injuries or emotional trauma, all with one thing in common. They had all, at some point, been targeted by Roon. Danny saved the information and handed the datapad back. Rest now, he said. I will come back tomorrow. What are you going to do? He stood up and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he stopped. My grandmother told me something else once. She said that mercy is a gift you give to those who deserve it. But protection is a duty you owe to those who cannot protect themselves. That does not answer my question. Danny looked back at her. For a moment, Silly saw something in his eyes that reminded her of the biology lecture. Persistence predators. Things that never stop following you. Tomorrow, he said, Roon is going to learn the difference between prey and predator. Danny, please, do not throw away everything for me. He smiled. It was gentle and sad and absolutely certain. You think this is just for you? Silly, there are records. 12 students that we know of. 12 lives damaged or destroyed. And no one stopped him because everyone was too afraid. He shook his head. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm picking something up that everyone else dropped. And what is that? Responsibility. He left before she could argue. In the corridor, he passed a female Brutari he did not recognize. She had been listening outside the door. You are really going to do it, she said. It was not a question. Yes. He will hurt you. Probably. She studied him with eyes like black stones. I am Tenna. I have watched Roon hurt people for years. My own kind. Others. I never said anything because I was afraid of what he would do to my family. And now, Tenna reached in her belt and pulled out a data chip. Everything I have seen. Names. Dates. Evidence. If you're going to stand against him, you should not stand alone. Danny took the chip. Why now? Because I'm tired of being afraid. And because I think you might actually win. Danny pocketed the chip and walked away. Tomorrow would come. Tomorrow, the rules would change point one way or another. The recreation hall was packed. Word had spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. Something was going to happen during free period. Something everyone wanted to see. Roon stood in the center of the room, surrounded by his Brutari followers. He was smiling. His stone-like face was twisted with anticipation. This was his stage. His moment. Silly stood against the far wall. She had refused to hide. Her cracked carapace was visible, her damaged wing held carefully against her back. She was trembling, but she did not run. Danny walked through the entrance. The crowd parted for him. Silence spread like a wave. 300 students held their breath. Roon's smile widened. The human arrives. Come to watch, pray, animal. Come to see what happens to those who forget their place. Danny did not answer. He walked forward, slow and steady, until he stood between Roon and Silly. His back was to her. His eyes were fixed on the Brutari. "Move," Roon commanded. "No." The word hung in the air. Simple. Final. Absolute. Roon laughed. "Do you know what I'm going to do to her? I'm going to break every bone she has. Slowly, one at a time. And you're going to stand there and watch, because that is all humans know how to do." Danny's voice was quiet but clear. Every ear in the room heard it. "Walk away, Roon. This is your only warning." Warning. Roon laughed again, but this time there was something uncertain in it. "You are warning me? What are you going to do, soft little human? Bleed on me? I will not ask again." Roon snarled. His massive fist swung toward Danny's head. Danny moved. It was not a dodge. It was a flow, a redirection, a step into the attack rather than away from it. His body turned with Roon's momentum, guiding the massive arm past his head and leaving the brute Hari off balance. Roon stumbled. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "Lucky," Roon growled. He swung again. Danny moved again. This time, his foot caught Roon's ankle at just the right moment. The 3-meter giant crashed to the ground with a sound like falling rocks. Silence. Absolute, shocked silence. Roon roared and scrambled to his feet. His eyes were wild with fury. "I'm going to kill you." He charged, all 300 kilograms of him, moving like an avalanche. Danny reached down and picked up a standard Academy chair. What happened next was burned into the memory of everyone who witnessed it. Danny gripped the chair by its legs and twisted. Metal screamed. Welds snapped. With a sound like breaking bones, the chair came apart in his hands. He held one leg like a staff. The other pieces clattered to the floor. Roon skidded to a halt, suddenly uncertain. "Humans are not prey," Danny said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "We are survivors. We come from a world where everything tries to kill us, and we are still standing. Do you want to know why?" He did not wait for an answer. He moved. The chair leg blurred through the air. It struck Roon's knee with surgical precision. The brute Hari howled and dropped. Danny spun, caught the counterattack from one of Roon's followers, and sent that brute Hari to the floor with 3 quick strikes. Another charged. Danny stepped aside and swept his legs out from under him. A third hesitated. Danny pointed the chair leg at him. "Run." He ran. Roon was trying to rise, his stone face twisted with pain and disbelief. Danny walked toward him with measured steps. "For months, you hurt people. You used your size, your family, your power. You made everyone afraid." Danny stopped in front of him. "Look around. Are they afraid now?" Roon looked. 300 faces stared back at him. There was no fear in their eyes, only something that looked terribly like hope. "On my world," Danny continued, "we have a word for people like you. We call them bullies. And we have another word for what happens when someone finally stands up to them." He dropped the chair leg. It clattered on the floor. "We call it justice." Security arrived 30 seconds later. Blue-armored officers pushed through the crowd, weapons drawn. Danny raised his hands without being asked. "I surrender," he said clearly. "I take full responsibility for my actions." They put restraints on his wrists. They led him away from the recreation hall. But as he walked past Silly, he caught her eye. She was crying, but she was also smiling. "Thank you," she mouthed. Danny nodded once. Then he was gone. The recreation hall erupted into chaos. Students shouted over each other. Some called Danny a criminal. Others called him a hero. The Brutari carried their wounded away in shocked silence. In the corner, Tina watched it all with dark, thoughtful eyes. Then she walked to the nearest terminal and began uploading her evidence. The rules had broken. It was time to see what grew in their place. The holding cell was clean and white and quiet. Danny sat on the simple bench, his hands resting on his knees, his mind perfectly calm. He had done what needed to be done. Whatever came next, he would face it. The door slid open. Silly stood in the entrance, her glow bright and strong despite the cracks still visible on her carapace. "They let you visit?" Danny asked. "I did not give them a choice." She walked in and sat beside him. "The whole academy is talking about what you did. Some say you should be expelled. Others say you should be given a medal. What do you say?" She took his hand in hers. I say thank you for seeing me as worth protecting. Danny felt something warm spread through his chest. You are worth it. You were always worth it. They sat together in comfortable silence until the guards came to take Danny to the tribunal. The main assembly hall had been converted into a courtroom. Every seat was filled. Students from every species sat shoulder to shoulder, their attention fixed on the central platform where Danny stood alone. Commandant Vorish presided over the proceedings. The insectoid leader of the academy sat rigid and expressionless, his compound eyes reflecting hundreds of tiny images of Danny's face. Danny Reyes of Earth, Vorish announced. You stand accused of 3 charges. Destruction of academy property, use of an improvised weapon, assault against fellow students. How do you respond? I did those things, Danny said clearly. I do not deny it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The punishment for such violations is immediate expulsion, Vorish continued. Do you have anything to say before judgment is rendered? Danny took a breath. I have a question first. May I ask it? Vorish hesitated, then nodded. What is the purpose of the no-weapons rule? The commandant's antennae twitched. To maintain peace. To prevent violence. To ensure that this academy remains a place of learning, not conflict. And for 3 years, Roon has hurt students in this academy. He has driven 12 people away that I could find records of. Probably more. He has made this place a prison for anyone weaker than him. Danny looked around the assembly. Where was the peace for them? Where was the protection? Silence. The rules exist to protect people, Danny continued. But when the rules only protect the strong, they become weapons themselves. Roon did not need fists or knives. He had the rules. He knew that no one could stop him because stopping him meant breaking the rules. And so he broke people instead. Vorish's mandibles clicked. Are you saying the rules are wrong? I'm saying that rules without wisdom are dangerous. A chair is just a chair. My hands are just hands. What made them weapons was my choice to act. And I chose to act because no one else would. Danny's voice was steady. I'm not sorry for what I did. I am sorry that I had to do it. The assembly erupted. Voices shouted from every direction. Some demanded punishment. Others demanded change. Then a new voice cut through the noise. I have evidence. Tenna walked forward from the crowd. In her hand, she held a data chip. 3 years of records, she announced. Every student Roon targeted. Every injury. Every withdrawal. Every complaint that was ignored because his family was too powerful. She placed the chip on the commandant's desk. The human is not the criminal here. He is the only one who had the courage to act. More students stood. One by one, they came forward to add their testimony. Kelthani, who had been intimidated. Verdani, who had been threatened. Wispari, who had been hurt. Instructor Paleth rose from her seat. Her crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. I have taught here for 200 years, she said. I have watched the rules protect predators while prey suffered in silence. I was too bound by tradition to see what was happening. This human saw it in weeks. She turned to the commandant. If we expel him for defending the defenseless, then we are not a school. We are a cage. Vorish was silent for a long moment. His compound eyes shifted between Danny, Tenna, Paleth, and the hundreds of faces watching from the assembly. The council will deliberate, he finally announced. Clear the hall. The wait lasted 3 hours. Danny sat in a small room, surrounded by guards who would not meet his eyes. He did not pace. He did not worry. Whatever happened, he had done the right thing. The guards escorted him back to the assembly hall. The crowd had returned. Every face was turned toward him as he walked to the central platform. Vorish stood. Danny Reyes. The council has reached a decision. Danny stood straight. Ready. Your actions violated 3 academy rules. This is undeniable. Vorish paused. However, the council has also reviewed the evidence provided. We have found systematic failures in our protection of students. Failures that your actions exposed. Another pause. You will not be expelled. The crowd exploded with noise. Cheers and protests mixed together in a wave of sound. Vorish raised a limb for silence. Furthermore, the Academy will institute reforms. The no-weapons policy will be amended to include a protection clause. Students who act to defend others from documented abuse will be judged by context, not simply by action. He looked directly at Danny. And you, human, will teach the first course under this new policy. Danny blinked. What? You will teach proportional response, human ethics of protection, how to defend without destroying. Vorsh's mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. Consider it your punishment. 3 months later, Danny stood at the front of classroom. 20 students from 15 different species sat before him, their eyes curious and eager. Welcome to Protection Ethics, Danny said. My name is Danny Reyes, and I am here to teach you how to be dangerous in the right way. He picked up a standard academy chair and set it in the center of the room. This is a chair. It is also a weapon, and it is also a shield. The only difference is what you choose to do with it. He looked at his students. By the end of this course, you will understand that being peaceful does not mean being helpless. It means choosing not to hurt, and sometimes choosing to protect. A small Wispari in the front row raised her wing. Is it true you broke a chair with your bare hands? Danny smiled. Would you like me to show you? After class, Silly was waiting for him outside. Her wing had healed completely. Her carapace showed only a faint line where the crack had been. How was your first day, Professor Reyes? She asked. Good. Strange. Hopeful. He fell into step beside her as they walked through the corridors. A student asked if humans are really as dangerous as the stories say. What did you tell her? Danny looked out the window at the stars beyond. Millions of worlds, billions of species, an infinite universe full of wonder and danger. I told her the truth. We are only dangerous to those who hurt the people we love. Silly took his hand. Her fingers were warm now. I think that is the best kind of dangerous. Danny smiled. So do I.